To the phone line, speak with George Asamoah. Joshua Asamoah is with the Ghana Meteorological Agency. Joshua, good morning. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, good morning, Johnny. Thanks for having me.
Now, tell me, from where you sit, usually when you give these weather updates and warnings that it is going to rain, do people take them serious?
Well, thank you. A very good morning to everyone listening. I think it's more like a mixed feeling. There are people who don't really take it serious. There are some who also take it very seriously. And so you have people who actually even call us to ask if there is any updates or whatever. And there are people who also get the information and just disregard the whole information. So it's more like a mixture of the two.
Now, in terms of regard and disregard, you also come to the point where you sometimes say it's going to rain very heavily and people take it very lightly, even though they take your weather warnings, but they take it so lightly. What are some of the consequences that could emanate from such habits?
So the intensity is quite seriously. It's something that is very important when it comes to the communication of the event. That is why we are actually using the impact-based forecast now, so that the intensity, the severity, and everything will be captured in the information that the people are actually receiving. In that case, the actions or the decisions that they take based on the information that they get is relevant to the information that is reaching them. And so you don't underplay or overestimate whatever you should do during the period when that isn't expected. We know that in the past, when we're doing all the hazard base and we're just communicating that it is going to rain, or we don't really add the intensity and the impact that it will have, people were not really taking decisions that were relevant to the information. At least with this kind of impact-based forecast, the decision is more related to the information that we get. Because if you are getting an information of a severe event and your decision is to act as if the event is going to be a light or a moderate event, then the impact will be very severe on the activity that you have within the day. It's very good that you actually act based on the characteristics of that particular event that you're experiencing that particular time.
I know that you have equally been worried about spatial planning in Accra and many other different cities in this country, how people have built on waterways and choked gutters and all of that, because you know the volumes of water or volumes of rain that we're to expect at any given time and the impact. Do you have such conversations with people and the authorities, the powers that be, about spatial planning and all of those ones? Because it's a big concern, is it not?
Oh, yes, it's a very big concern. Consider the fact that we in Accra are not only affected by just the rainfall that comes to Accra. There are other runoff coming from even the eastern region towards us, because it's a very low-lying area, and then all the water is draining into the ocean. They eventually pass it, they get to the ocean. And so our impact is not just based on the rainfall that we are experiencing here. Other impacts, runoff from other areas also affect us. When the wager dam is also open, there's also the runoff also affects us. And so it makes our situation quite dire, and so we shouldn't take planning lightly at all. So that's for this reason why we have a lot of collaborations with other institutions. For instance, we are interested in what is happening in the atmosphere. Once it hits the ground, another institution takes over. For instance, Ghana Hydrological Authority is in charge of flooding, and so they are responsible for the drains and all of those things. And so there's that collaboration with them, so that they know what amount you are expecting, and they can also tell its impact on the drains that they have, on the possibility of flooding in areas across their county. And based on that information, because they know the return periods of the drains and then the possibility, the amount of rainfall they need to cause flooding in any other area in the county, they are able to inform what decisions we should take. I think the issue that we've had in the past is that we've not had a long-term projection of how the rainfall amounts are going to
That's
look
right.
like in the next 10 years, in the next 5 years. And so when we're planning, we don't have that information to plan with. But in recent years, we've actually made advances in that. And we are going to very soon launch the climate alert, which is going to give us projections into the future. What in the next 50 years we are expecting, what we are expecting in the next 10 years, in the next 5 years. and that can help planning and will make meaningful decisions based on that information.
You mentioned earlier that, well, Accra is the final receiver or receptacle of all the rain that comes from the top. Should we also be concerned about how they do their planning there, how we are turning greens into browns and to glass and to tiles? Should we in Accra be concerned about it, or should we just be sitting in a corner and minding our business?
We should be very concerned because, like I said, not everywhere in the county, the rain in everywhere in the country will not be getting here. There are some that go through the Asamoah Dam, which is more like a retention point for some of the runoff that is coming from the northern portions of Ghana. There are some that are also collected in the black water, the white water, the lower water, and all of that. But like I was saying earlier, in the eastern region, for instance, when the rains around those areas, the runoff directly affects areas in Greater Accra. The Ouija Dam is collecting some of them, but not all of them will be able to be collected by the Ouija Dam. And so we'll still have some passing through Accra. And so for that reason, we would need to be concerned about what happens in those areas as well. And so when we are even monitoring the possibility of flooding, we are not only considering what is happening in Accra, we are even considering what is happening in the eastern region because its impact will directly affect us in Greater Accra. So same way as we are concerned about how we are planning our land use and all of that in Accra, we should also be concerned about those areas as well. If we have more water retention points in those areas, then they will collect the water and reduce the runoff that will come into Greater Accra. Maybe later when the rain has receded or subsided, you can decide to now channel the water that has been collected through a means that will not affect any other person. That way we will reduce the stress and then the flooding issues that we have in Greater Accra.
There's accommodation deficit in Accra. There's also population growth in Accra. And then there's the question of the topography of Accra. How do we put these three together in a beautiful triangle so that we don't end up disadvantaging ourselves and drowning altogether in rain?
I have been saying this to people who are around that population increase is actually one of the reasons why we are having all of these issues that we're having in Accra. Because once everybody wants to now relocate to Accra, there's a lot of pressure on the land, and that is forcing people to even settle on water retention areas. So once there's that struggle for land in Accra, and we are not looking at moving to other areas, everybody wants to come to Accra, then obviously that is going to affect us, our planning as well. We should find ways of expanding our economic activities into other areas so that other sectors, other cities will also become very busy and people will move to those areas and settle there as well. If we don't do that, and Accra becomes our only economic city where people would want to move from everywhere across the country to the state, we'll definitely be fighting most of these battles at any time.
That's scary, is it not?
Well, yes, I see it to be scary, but I think that it needs a lot more push, and people would also have to change their own mentalities and the way they see things before we'll be able to have that kind of impact that we actually want to have.
I see. George, Joshua, I want to thank you very much indeed for your time this morning. Any closing thoughts before you go? As we go through the day, because we know that some more rain will come, what advice do you have for us?
Yes, it's actually raining in part of Greater Accra. We expect it to persist for some time, probably subsiding towards the early hours of the afternoon and drifting to the western side. So the central western region will also be experiencing rain this morning into the afternoon. And we are still in the minor rainfall season for southern Ghana. So it means that we'll still be experiencing some rainfall if you find yourself in the southern part of Ghana. This is expected till somewhere around November, so mid to late November. That's when we're expecting that the rain will significantly subside for southern Ghana. And so if you are making your plans for the day, you should try as much as possible to include weather information so that your decisions that you take will be informed by the weather information that you receive and you don't find yourself in any unforeseen circumstances.
Thank you very much indeed, Joshua Asamoah, a senior meteorologist with the Ghana Meteorological Agency. We're grateful for your time this morning.